Hey guys, welcome back to Upright Christian Parenting. This is the Treehouse Storytellers Parenting Podcast. I am your host, Hannah Peru. Today we are going to talk about motherhood and the Great Commission. Your home, my home, our homes are our first mission, right? I have this sign in my house that I have to see every time I walk from the kitchen through our family room into our master. And it says the most important work you will ever do is within the walls of your home. And I wholeheartedly believe that that has to come first. That is always our first priority. Our marriages have to be right. Our relationship with the Lord obviously comes first. And then after our marriages, our children, our home, that is our first ministry. And then anything after that comes in line after that. So, I mean, there is an order there. There's a God ordained order that I believe we are to respect. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And I'm getting still kind of situated in here with my coffee and everything. Um, Guys, we are going to dive into something. I have a challenge for you at the very end. So wait until then to make sure you learn all about the challenge. But we're going to talk about discipleship at home. We're going to talk about bedtime because there's something there. We're going to talk about just practical things we can do, journaling. But I mean, we're just going to be a little honest, which is, always how I roll. And we're going to just go really deep into some of this stuff. So, guys, welcome back. We're learning to raise our families upright in a sideways culture. I'm your host, Hannah Peru, wife, mama, author. But really, guys, I'm just a normal mom trying to hear God's voice over the noise of 1,000 laundry piles and a dishwasher that I always forget to turn on. So, if you've ever felt the weight of discipleship and motherhood and thought, oh my word, Lord, you picked the wrong girl. I can't do this. I'm exhausted. Well, today's episode is especially for you. So, today we're talking about motherhood and the Great Commission. Your home is the first mission field. So, guys, let's talk about a really honest story for a second. I'm going to be real. I need to confess something to you guys. And if you're a mom, you want to maybe raise your hand with me on this. I know this is a terrible thing to feel like this is the last thing that I would ever, ever, ever want to admit as a mom. I hate bedtime. I really, really don't like it. My kids are getting older. I have practically two teenagers. I have a 15-year-old son now who is driving me around in circles. I have, so pray for me there. I have a 12-year-old going on 13. She'll be 13 really, really soon. And then I have a 6-year-old going on 16, right? So I have, pretty much two teenagers and one that just kind of wants to fall in line. And as homeschool families, you guys might relate, bedtime isn't always as structured as bedtime in maybe public school or private school scenarios. Sleep is a little bit more relaxed, or schedules of sleep around bedtime or waking up for us. We're still semi strict of needing to get out of the bed in the morning and get to work and get your job done and get your schoolwork done. I am at least pretty pushy on that. I don't let them wait till halfway through the day. But at the same time, it's homeschool and we kind of run by our own clock. And the more kids sleep in, the more mama gets time in the morning in the quiet. And I get to just relax and do the morning things kind of on my own in a peaceful setting when I'm like fresh. But that creates a little bit of a pickle come bedtime. So it's something that we are working through in our household because it needs refined. It needs to make a change. that's an area that we are addressing and we know is a point of friction for us, and it cuts into my time with my husband. And so, that's really something that we're looking at revising. But guys, it's the bedtime that at least in my family, it is one of the most deep thought, deep conversational times. Like, "Hey, now let's get into a debate about this," or, "Hey, mom, I was thinking about this," or, "Hey, I can't sleep because of XYZ." And now we have to dig into this, like, ridiculous, "Hey, I was getting ready to turn the light on," and now 20 minutes later, we are in a deep philosophical, deep theological conversation, and those conversations you don't wanna skip. You don't wanna be like, "Well, we'll deal with it in the morning, babe." It's like, "Oh my word, my kid is asking me something that is so important and so vital to their spiritual health, to how they're feeling mentally, how their emotions are, like, we've gotta address this, and I can't wait till tomorrow morning. I don't wanna wait, and, some conversations, we kinda give a shorter answer, and then we elaborate the next day. Like, yes, there's room for that to be the choice there, but at the same time, oh my word, when our kids are really asking us those hard things, if we don't answer them, they're gonna find the answer from someone else. So and you don't know if they're gonna ask it again. So you really wanna capitalize on some of those questions, and, this isn't just my teenager, it goes all the way down to my six-year-old. We've got, 2 barn cats that we make sure every single night possible that we bring those kitties in to their cat house every night. We have every single predator that you can possibly think of that lives, like, in our neighborhood. So we've got the mountain lions, the bears, the bobcats, and everything likes to eat chickens. Well, most everything likes a teeny tiny barn cat. So thankfully ours are, pretty beefy and they eat a lot of mice and they're healthy and they're fat, but sometimes they wander a little bit and we have to go on a hunt to find them. And this one particular night, we could not find Zipper, who is the girl's cat. So, my youngest, 6-year-old, was laying in bed and she was just terrified. She was picturing with her wild imagination every bobcat, every mountain lion, every predator just going to be able to get Zipper tonight. And we couldn't find him. We didn't get him in. And we had to talk through that fear. And what we had to do was lay it at the foot of the cross together. I had to help walk her through this, and I knew if I didn't stop and really address this fear, that one, it's gonna create a root system in her where she is not going to, well, I'll put it this way, maybe she's going to learn that, you know, I just I am just supposed to be scared when these things happen. I'm supposed to just live in fear when these things happen. But instead, we want to create a different root system where, okay, when I'm scared, when I'm fearful, when things are going against my plan, that's when it's crucial that I lay things at the foot of the cross and I trust Jesus. And then I give him my worries and I give him my concerns. And that's when I learn that I can trust in him and that he listens to me and he cares about my cat too. And so we had to talk through all of that. And oh my word, the blessing, guys. And it doesn't always happen like this, but Jesus is so good. As soon as we laid it at his feet, and as soon as we really, really prayed over sweet little Zipper to be safe, I tucked her in. She felt calm. She felt at peace. His peace that surpasses all understanding just poured over us. And you know what? I went, turned the light on outside, double checked. I actually peeked outside, listened for a second. It was a really still night, and I could hear something crunching. I'm like, okay, it's either a deer, but I'm pretty sure it's a cat. I think the cat's coming back. So I shined a flashlight. Um, out into the woods, and sure enough, I saw him right there. And so I, yelled for him, and he just came running down, and we were able to get him inside before she fell asleep. And it was just the most precious moment with her because she was just in tears of joy, realizing, "Oh my goodness, Jesus heard my prayer the second we prayed. God brought him home." And it just built that next little layer of faith for her heart to build on. And just, every time that we give something to the Lord, and this is for adults too, like, how many times do we lose something? We can't find our phone, we can't find our keys. Like, stop and pray about it and use those tiny, what seems like trivial moments, like these teeny tiny meaningless moments of need. God cares about. He cares about the little just as much he cares about the big. And I think it's in those little moments that we can really start to build our faith and put into practice what we need to do when the big storms hit. It's like a fire drill, guys. Like, if we don't do the fire drill when there isn't really a fire, then what happens when the fire really comes? We're not prepared for it. So we have to do the fire drill, the prayer drill, the faith drill as much as we possibly can. And then when those real storms come, because oh my word, they come and they come full force, then we know what to do. We have a muscle memory, we have a heart memory, a posture of remembrance, knowing exactly what we're supposed to do in that moment because we've done it in the little. We're faithful in the little. What's the verse where we're faithful in the little? Then the Lord will give us much, right? And that's what we have to put into practice. So, bedtime, really any time. But guys, that's something that, if you have encouragement for me, I'm all ears. But I am so thankful for bedtime, even though it's something guys, I'm empty. I'm done. My cup is completely poured out, and that's not something that I really want to spend a lot of time doing. I want to, read tons of books to my kids during the day, but at night, I'm like, guys, if I pick up this book and sit in your bed, I'm going to crash. I will fall asleep and I will not be able to make it back upstairs to my room. That's literally where I'm at that time of night. My brain is done, my patience is thin, and I'm not giving my best at that point, but I know that the Lord can be so faithful and that God can give us. Maybe that's morning time for you. Maybe that's middle of the day. Maybe it's like coffee hour after lunch that you shut down, and that like 2 p.m. And I think what we need to do is practice those moments, see where our weakness is, and pour into the Lord of God, you're going to be the one to carry me through this time period. And maybe what we do is we fill our cup before we're completely empty. We have that like refresher. We need topped off. We need God, like, pour into me a little bit more before I do bedtime. Maybe we have to go to the bathroom by ourselves and pray for a minute before we then go to bedtime or before our kids wake up. Like, I need this time to just really push into the Lord, feel his nearness, feel that I'm relying fully on him, and then I can hit the ground running again. So that's something that we need to, really put into practice. And I think of, an athlete. An athlete prepares so heavily. They have their pregame routine, they have their stretches, their practices. I mean, I was a very competitive golfer. We actually took state my senior year. And something fun fact, a lot of people don't realize about me. And I almost went to play college. I had multiple scholarships. I went to be a walk-on at Purdue, turned a lot of the scholarships down. They just weren't the right school for me. And I ended up backing out of golf. This is not something I was going to share today. It's not anywhere in my notes. But the Lord brings these things to the surface. And, I can look at how I play golf, and a serious athlete is going to have all of these little things that they do. You're gonna have kind of this little routine, and I had a pre-shot routine. So every time I got on the tee to hit my drive, I had a routine and I still do it to this day. Like, I have to do it exactly like that because I know this is how my body, studies and prepares itself to then hit a good shot. And I also have a pre-putting routine where I take more time than probably the average person, and I really am more careful. Now, if I'm just playing for fun and not caring and I scrap the routine, then my game reflects it. So, guys, we are in a really, really serious battle called life, and we are not against flesh and blood, but principalities and the powers of darkness. Guys, we need a pregame. And when we're parenting, we need a pregame routine. We need a pre-swing routine. We need, whatever that looked like for you if you did sports. Think back of all the little ways that you prepared yourself, that you practiced every day, that you took care of your body in a certain special unique way. Maybe you're still doing that now. We've got to apply that to our heart. We have to apply that to our spiritual life as well. That is not just physical, that is spiritual, that's mental game. I mean, they say like golf is 98% mental and 2%, skill or something like that. I forget the percentage usually. It's something in the 90s. And there's so much to that because it is such a mental game, and that is exactly how we are living and walking on this earth, and that is truly the Great Commission. The Lord has given us so, so much to do. We have a job to do while we're on this planet, and we have to do it well, and the only way that we're gonna finish the race well is if we put into practice those habits, put into practice practicing the skills that he's given us to use. So, if you have that moment in the day with your kids that you just feel like, oh, this is like the worst part of the day for me, let's join together and practice those things so that we can walk through that piece of our day a little more full, have a little more to offer our kids. All right. So, now that we've talked through that, let's anchor this in scripture just a little bit. So, Jesus said in Matthew 28:18 through 20, all authority, and this is the Passion version, guys, or Passion translation. I am so in love with the Passion Bible right now. I think my artist heart just needs it. I love the poetry around it. I love just the depth and the extra adjectives and all the feels. I go obviously back and forth from many different versions, but if I just really want inspired by a verse and have it just pierce my heart a little bit more, then the Passion translation has been a lovely way to do that. So it says, all the authority in the universe has been given to me. Now go in my authority, and this is Jesus talking. Now go in my authority and make disciples of all nations and teach them to faithfully follow all that I've commanded you, and never forget that I am with you every day, even to the completion of this age. Guys, Jesus has all authority and he's handed it off to us. He literally, it's like my son does track. I hate running. Don't make me run like ever. But he's incredible at running. He enjoys it. He actually wants to do it. It's amazing. But he likes doing the relay where they pass the baton. And I see this as Jesus passing the baton, saying, hey, I have the authority. Here it is. Now it's your turn. I'm passing this off to you, and go make it disciples of all nations. And when we hear all nations, a lot of times we think so big picture, like, oh, mission trips, unreached tribes, stadiums of people. I mean, we have seen that in full force the last, month and a half. We have seen the stadiums of people. We've experienced what that looks like and the magnitude of what that can be. But let's break it down a little bit, because while we need those stadium moments, while those are so amazing in reaching the multitudes, we also need to realize that all nations starts in the walls of our home. It starts where I'm walking. It starts where I'm sleeping at night, where I'm waking up in the morning. It starts where I am the most vulnerable. That is where the mission begins. And that's also where our little people are, or our people that are growing into adults. That is where our mission is. And that's where it has to start first and foremost. Our kids are part of those nations. In Deuteronomy 6:6-7 says, repeat them again, talking about the words law. Repeat them again and again to your children. Talk about them when you are at home and when you're on the road and when you're going to bed and when you're getting up. Back in the short season that we did public school, my drive, getting everyone in the car was absolutely the worst. Worst part about, if there's a reason to leave public school for any other, if there wasn't 1,000 other reasons to leave public school from my perspective, it was enough to stop going to public school just for the sake of fighting over getting everyone into the car. Where's your water bottle? Where's your backpack? Oh, you forgot this. Where's your shoes? Oh my word, I hated it. But once we were in the car, once we had all the water bottles, once we had all the things that we needed, the coats, the gloves, the hats, the shoes, it's so hard getting all the things. That 9-minute drive from our house to the school was the sweetest time for me, because I would intentionally know that I wasn't going to see my kids until 3 p.m. or whatever. And I would pray over them. I would encourage them for their day. I would ask them how they were going to be a light in their classroom today. And we had the most intentional drive. And so sometimes we have to make use of something where, that's kind of like the season that Treehouse Storyteller actually grew out of, where I wrote my first children's book, Farm to Film, because I realized there were so many families and so many kids driving down the road, just staring at screens. They had, their little purple and blue and pink headphones on, and they weren't talking to each other. And it's kind of like when you're on an airplane and you have the person next to you, and like God gave you that person, and you're like, you're stuck with me for like 2 hours. Like, let's really have a conversation. And you can't like beat me up because we're on a plane. You can try, but it's not going to work very well. And then like we can actually sit here and talk. And like I can ask you questions and you can't go anywhere. Like the seatbelt sign's on, you're stuck right there, dude. I love that. I love that when our kids are in a car, everyone is buckled, you have a captive audience, and you can really talk through some of those things. And I think that is a practical means of living out Deuteronomy 6:6-7. Talk about them when you're at home, when you're on the road, when you go in, when you come in, when you go out, is what the, not TPT version is. And it specifically says when you go to bed or when you lie down and when you raise up, when you get up in the morning. We are called, this is a commission. We are called to talk to our children about the Lord. And if we don't fill them up with his truth, it's so real that the world will fill up your kids with the lies. The Lord knows exactly when hearts are softened and when the walls come down, and us as parents, we need to notice those exact moments where we can really take advantage of those just minutes in our life, whether it's breakfast or during family dinner or when you're sipping your coffee and you're like, okay, I'm getting more coffee. We can talk. We're good now. Okay, just me? No? All right. So Acts 1-8 says, you will be my messengers in Jerusalem and throughout the earth. So where's our Jerusalem? I would love to someday go to Jerusalem. I have not been there. I have friends that have been there. I have many friends that have been. I have not been there. But I don't think we have to physically go to Jerusalem to live out the Great Commission. I think we can live correctly in our home, in our living rooms, in our giant SUVs and our minivans at our dinner table and our bedtime routines. The Great Commission isn't something we add on top of motherhood, but motherhood is part of the Great Commission. Okay. Oh my goodness, guys. And if you have not started your family or you're still trying, I am praying over you today. Um, Blessing upon blessing, blessings over fertility. If you are in a position where you know you'll never have kids, then it's still the same story. The the commission, instead of motherhood, replace it with your home, your household, your community, your family, like that small, your really near circle of influence. That is what we're talking about right there. So if there aren't children in your life, then that might look like your neighbor. That might look like just you and your spouse and the people that you're pouring into. And that becomes your great commission. And it starts there. And when it starts there, then it can build out, right? But you've got to start there first. So, why is this so relevant in our culture? Why is this an urgency? We always try and apply this stuff to our crazy sideways culture. Taking a drink of coffee here. Look at my cute little mug. Isn't it adorable? It's a camera. It's hard to see in this light. For those of you that watch me on YouTube and scratch your head at wondering why in the world sometimes my lighting goes really, really wonko, I have a 70-inch by 70-inch skylight, like right here. So it's a little intense. And when it's cloudy, it's like perfect filtered light. But then when it's sunny, it's like, oh my word, I need, like, the sun's starting to come out more and it gets so bright. Anyways, back to culture. Why does this stuff matter so much right now? Because the world is aggressively discipling our kids. We have had some breakthroughs. We are winning a little bit. We're gaining a little bit of ground. We've seen, man, I keep seeing news headline after another of different Planned Parenthoods closing. Like some of the giant ones have closed. Many, many, many of them have closed. They've lost some of the funding. Like there's a lot of change happening for the better. Um, we're seeing more parents stand up in public school spaces. We're seeing more board meetings reflect that. There is, political leadership that we're seeing a shift. We're seeing God being invited back into our nation like never before. We're hearing Jesus being talked about by our vice president. I mean, there are some incredible movements happening. The whole story with, the Super Bowl, we're supposed to, at TPUSA, they are going to be rolling out a family friendly event happening so that you can take part in that instead of the whatever bunny character crazy person that the Super Bowl currently has in place. We're seeing some incredible shifts, but guys, it's just like scratching the surface. There is still so much darkness. And just because there are some good things moving does not mean it is a time for us believers to go, oh, we're making a comeback. We can relax. Because no, that's called complacency. Really, it is what can we do in the next few years while we have this specific administration in place? How much ground can we keep making? And we want to make as much as we can and pave the way as much as we can for our children and the next generation to come. So guys, this is like, it's really like, oh, there's an open door. This is our chance. That's the mentality we need to take instead of, oh yeah, things are better now. We're good. We're good. Okay. So now is our chance. We got to push that much harder. So we see screens, schools, social media, friends, ideologies that are still trending, that are unbiblical. If we don't disciple our kids, someone absolutely will. And the enemy loves bedtime. Just think of your own time trying to fall asleep. And, Cody travels sometimes, he's still in the military, and I can't sleep when he's gone. My mind does all the things. My mind worries. My mind wanders. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes God gives me like way more ideas when he's gone. And then I have the space to stay up late and knock the things out, stay up late illustrating or writing or something. But often the enemy is like, hey, you're kind of anxious right now. You're scared. You're on edge. You're worrying about this. You're worrying about that. And I have to really consciously decide, no, not today, not tonight. No, I have the Lord. I have his peace. Get behind me, Satan. So obviously, the enemy, if he loves doing that to us adults, we know he loves harming our children. So it's that much worse for them. But guess what? Jesus uses those moments. He can whisper his identity to us if we give him that space and attention. He can use those times to speak peace over our hearts. He can plant truth without the fear. We don't need to be perfect. We just need to show up and talk to him in those moments and teach our kids in those moments how to talk to him as well. Okay. We don't need to be perfect parents. There's no such thing. But we have to make an effort to be faithful and to be obedient. When the Lord tells us or nudges us, like, hey, no, spend more time with him right now, listen to that. It takes effort. It's the harder choice. It's the easier thing to just go, hey, good night, turn off the light, go to bed. That's easier. It's easier to raise your voice a little bit or to be stern or lay down the law. It is harder to soften towards them. So here's some small things we can put into practice. Let's teach simple prayers when fears arise. Like, Jesus, you are with us. We're safe. We trust you. Maybe ask some of those really good questions at bedtime. Like, hey, where did you see God today? Where did he show up for you? What's something that God taught you today? I love those questions because they make your kids think, and then they stop and they give God the glory over their day, and they go to sleep with that gratefulness and gratitude on their heart instead of thinking over the negative thing, right? We've got to shift the perspective for them and teach them that practice. And it's teaching it on ourselves. We can speak identity out loud. You are loved, you are chosen, you are God's workmanship. Invite them into worship with us. Guys, I can't sing well. I've actually been told I shouldn't sing by people in the past. There are certain moments when like my voice is just raspy enough, and I have taken years of choir, so I have enough head knowledge of how to control my voice in a very specific key that I do think I have a skill in like this teeny tiny world of singing. But then there's all the rest of it that I am not skilled. That is not a gifting of mine. And yeah, but even if you're off key, especially when we're off key, show your kids they can worship. Allow them to see that you are confident enough to worship the King, even if your voice is scratchy, even if it doesn't hit the note just right, even if you're completely tone deaf. Show your kids that you can worship and push into the Lord even then. And maybe you do one of probably the most amazing transforming things, and you go through scripture at night and you read scripture together and you meditate over a verse or two. So guys, if you are listening, if you're watching, I'm going to show something here. Um, if you're thinking, man, I really want to be able to do these things, and like I know what she's talking about, like, Hannah, yeah, you're right, like I get it, but like it just doesn't work. It's not that easy. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to stay consistent. Guys, you're not alone in this. I want to help you. Like, I'm right here with you. Okay. We're doing it together. We are battling, we are linking arms together. So, I am going to start something Sunday, November 2nd. That is literally like days from now. But don't let that intimidate you. I'm leading a 4-week challenge that I'm calling the Wanderer's Journey, 4 weeks to a Rooted Motherhood. So I have a new resource, a new release called the Wanderer's Field Guide. You may have seen it on Instagram if you follow me there. It is a field guide. It is not in and of itself a devotional. It is not a Bible study. It is a beautiful journal. At least I think it is beautiful. Um, I've spent a lot of time organizing it, putting it together for you guys, and it there's it's basically 4 weeks, so it's a month-long study. It's not quite 30 days, but more of a 4-week timeline. And what we're going to do with it is going to do this together, start it at the same time. If you end up a week late, that's fine. I will still be doing it, okay? Um, so I invite you to do this with us. We are going to be gathering, and just knowing that you're linking arms with other people, I think is so important. So what it does, it starts on, it's really hard to see on my video, but it starts with sermon notes on a Sunday, and then it goes through, and there's pictures online too. You can see it better that way. If you go to thetreehousestoryteller.com, there's a place for sermon notes, prayer requests. You know how you always run into people at church, or hopefully you run into people at church, and you're like, oh my goodness, what's going on with you? And that's when you kind of have those prayer requests that start to surface. So there's a place for that there. Then every single day, Monday through Friday, has a place for taking Bible notes. So you have like a very organized page of taking, see if I can get it on the camera just right. There we go. Taking Bible notes. So you have your scripture, observation, application, and prayer. And then the next page has a page completely devoted for prayer time, for prayer requests, requests for other people in your life, confession and forgiveness, thanks and praise. So this is where I'd be like, Lord, I am terrible at bedtime. I've had a terrible mindset during it. Like, please help me there, Father. Um, so every page or every day of the week has a page devoted to Bible study and prayer time. And then as you go through the week and get to the weekend, then you have places where if you're reading a Christian book and want to take some notes, or something really stood out and you want to make sure you remember it, or if you have a really awesome event over the weekend, there's places to record that as well. And then the very back, which is kind of like my favorite secret thing, um, you kind of want to like hit this first, even though it's the very back page. It is a calendar for the entire month, and it's specifically designed not for you to put down all of your work notes or everyone's uh, dance schedule or whatever sports your kids take. But this is specifically a calendar to call out, here is where I am making very intentional time for the Lord, whether that's having coffee with a friend and talking about Jesus, or, reaching out to someone that I've been witnessing to. Like, it's literally a calendar that's designed to let you see, oh wow, like maybe I'm convicted here. Like, I only did like 2 things on my calendar really intentionally for the Lord. Like, how can I fill up my calendar more and prioritize him more for doing his work? Okay? And that can be absolutely with your kids like we talked about first. But then as you master that, then we can expand there. So, it's not for this is not just for moms. I'd say it's mostly for women, given that it's so stinking pretty and fun to look at. It's more geared towards women. Anyone can do this, though, any ages. My 12-year-old daughter has been doing hers and loving it. She takes it to church with her. She does it every day. It's one of those things that it's creating a habit where we can get together, we can build daily rhythms with God, we can hear his voice more clearly because we're setting aside the space and the time to hear him. We are strengthening our spiritual culture in our home, in our life, in our schedule, and we're rooting our motherhood or our womanhood in his presence, and we're coming out the other side transformed because we know that when we are in his word, renewal happens. And it that is God, one of God's promises. I don't think the scripture ever returns void. And so if we are spending more time in his scripture, in his word, we will see a transformation in our lives on the other side. So imagine 4 weeks from now saying, "Oh my goodness, I know Jesus more now. I understand his heart for me more. I understand him deeper than I did before. And my home feels different because I'm doing this routine." And it's more than a check off list, but it's setting that heart posture, setting that time, prioritizing him in a fresh way. And you can sign up through the link in the show notes. I've got a landing page set up for you guys. You can sign up through the website. That ensures that we get weekly encouragement together directly in your inbox from me so we can walk it together. So go to the Treehouse Storyteller, grab your field guide. It comes in 2 different versions on my website. This is the laminated version, so it's like a nice coating on it. And I also have a matte finish. I don't have one right in front of me, but that one does not have a laminate. Either way, if you do it correctly, it's pretty much a one-time, 1-month thing. So it has very limited time to get completely destroyed. I hated the look of the laminate, but now I'm really appreciating it. But you might like the other version. It's more natural and on brand to not have the laminate. So that was kind of my juggle back and forth of, okay, do I go for form or function here? Guys, grab your field guide, join the journey that we're on. Let's wander back to Jesus. Okay? If we've been wandering for a while, if we're kind of missing the mark, we need to reprioritize. But Hannah, it's the Christmas season. We're going into the holidays. There's no way I have time for this. Guys, that is the reason we have to make time for this. When life gets busy, that is when we have to shift our priority and make time for him. That has to be first, guys. And if it's not coming first, then I think we've got to check ourselves and check our priorities. Let's discover what he can lead us into. Okay, let's do it together. Guys, love you guys. Let's link arms today. Let's just really disciple our children with boldness. Share this episode with a friend. This only gets out, often by word of mouth. I don't spend money on advertising. Guys, I had someone comment on my Instagram yesterday, really shaming me for selling products and using God to make a profit. And so that you guys, my bread and butter listeners here, so that you guys know, I have never once taken a paycheck from Treehouse Storyteller. Every single dollar that I make from books or products or artwork, it all comes back to building the kingdom. It sits in that pot waiting to be pushed out for the next book. This stuff is so expensive to print, to order, to manufacture. And all of that money really just goes right back into investing in the kingdom building, investing in the podcast, investing in equipment. Guys, my microphone arm is being held up by a stack of books right now because it's like I think I can fix it, but I didn't have time to deal with it right beforehand. And so it's like stuff like that. There's always something to fix, always something to, upgrade equipment, upgrade all the things. And I love that the Lord has given me this platform, and I'm so incredibly thankful for all of you who take the time to listen to every episode. And guys, we have listeners in countries that it is illegal to be a Christian. I literally have people listening in communist countries, in communist nations, in nations that are godless, and it just it's a bittersweet thing because I love that you guys are able to listen, and I am praying so much for your safety, and I'm just so thankful that you have a way to, tap into some of the Christian resources, even in a godless nation and a communist one, and I would love to hear some stories one day, uh, of testimonies there. I'm sure there are incredible ones. Guys, I wanna close with this verse, 1 Corinthians 10:13. "No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to humanity, and God is faithful to provide a way of escape from any temptation so that you can endure it." Guys, I learned this in a completely different version, so that is a fresh perspective for me to read it in that one, but basically, God does not give us more than what we can handle, and it honestly, I think sometimes really we can't handle it, but the reality, just like we read in that Matthew verse, Jesus has all authority and he's passed it off to us. So in reality, he said, "Hey, I have all authority over all of this. I know that there's persecution. I know that there's violence. I know that people are coming against you. I know that there's even, believers fighting believers. But here is the baton. Here is the truth. Here is the way. I am the way. Here it is, guys. I give it over to you to run with." Guys, let's run this race well. Let's run it with his authority. I'm gonna get all fired up here at the end. Guys, we have his whole armor. Let's put that armor on. Let's not keep it tucked in the closet. Let's put all of it on today and just run this race knowing I have all authority in Jesus. Let's do this, guys. Thank you so much for listening. See you later next time in the treehouse.